Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, interestingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. This is live show 1240. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out it's super casual around here, just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then usually we'll take a first look at a game, either a board game unboxing or more likely paging through a role-playing game release, which is what we're doing tonight. Every once in a while, I might tackle a topic related to our hobby, and every blue moon, I simply share the news and then kick back and shoot the fat with chat. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit gaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And tonight, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a first look at the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game core rulebook from Marvel. So yes, we are going to dive on in, and this was provided through the kind donation of a fan of the channel of the Gaming Gang. So very nice. This did not come from Marvel. So we're going to take a peek because they wanted to see this, and they wanted to see a review from the Gaming Gang. Pretty cool. And of course, because this is a live show, there is chat available. It's not going to be available to you if you're not a subscriber to the channel and have been for at least 60 minutes. But if you do check that box and you've been a subscriber for at least an hour and want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my very best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Wallona's Cave. Kathy Evans is with us, as is Testy Trekkie, Sean O'Donnell, Semper Buffo, Kevin R. Smith, Mike, and DB. And I would not be surprised if the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is lurking in the shadows as one of our chat moderators. I think we'll only have one chat moderator tonight because, well, that's if Sarah D's here. I think the madman is gaming this evening. So we shall see. That's okay. If we don't have a chat moderator and people get out of line, I can boot them myself. Not that we ever, in the years that we've been doing this, I think we've had to toss somebody twice. That's it. And a couple of times, it got kind of tricky. Got kind of close to me booting somebody, and I was like, okay, I'll just give them another minute or so. And then they calmed down. They chilled out. Sarah D is with us. Yes, said y'all are stuck with the shadow moderator tonight. Michael Berry is also joining us in chat, as is Kevin King. So let's jump on into the news. Cubicle 7 Games has begun taking pre-orders for the Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound Champions of Chaos. Say that 5 times fast. Here's the latest. In the towering strongholds and blood-soaked wastelands of the 8 Points, roving bands of mortal warriors clash with demonic blades and harrowing war cries in an eternal battle for glory and the cursed favor of the dark gods. Warhammer Age of Sigmar Soulbound Champions of Chaos is a new tabletop role-playing game set in the Warhammer Age of Sigmar universe, utilizing the same thrilling and fast-paced rule set established in Age of Sigmar Soulbound to let players explore and roleplay in the mortal realms as aspiring champions of the ruinous powers. Champions of Chaos is a complete standalone experience, including everything you need to summon forth a warband of accursed warriors, eccentric cultists, and nightmarish monsters to unleash upon the mortal realms. It features playable Chaos-aligned characters for the first time, including all the magic, equipment, and rewards they need. The book is also backwards compatible with all content in the existing Soulbound library. Players take on the roles of mighty warriors, sorcerers, and mutants, set loose to fight for the glory of their dark gods. There's a new full suite of character options, species, archetypes, talents, spells, miracles, equipment, and endeavors, as well as a detailed map and guide to the Blood Wind Spoil, one of the most heavily populated stretches of the 8 points, perfect for Champions of Chaos adventures. Challenging foes of chaos, along with the beasts of the spoil, such as the legendary Ash Drake or the elite warriors of the Vanguard Auxiliary Chambers. There's a new system of earning favor, which replaces Soulfire. Favor is a personal resource earned by worshiping and gaining the divine attention of the dark gods. It can be spent similarly to Soulfire or exchanged for dark gifts like mutations, demonic war gear, and other boons. This 304-page hardcover with PDF will carry an MSRP of $59.99. It is supposed to land in the second quarter of 2026. Of course, if you place a pre-order, you will receive the PDF now, because the PDF is available. And if you just want the PDF, you can go over to DriveThruRPG and grab that for $29.99. This will be a review from Sammy, because she has handled our Soulbound releases that we've gotten over the years from Cubicle 7 Games. She actually was super impressed with the system. She was a little worried that she wasn't going to get into it because, it's Warhammer, it's Games Workshop. And sure enough, she was very pleasantly surprised. So I will be sending the PDF her way when I have it available. So stay tuned for that. Let's see. I thought for a second somebody had popped into chat, but I think it is all the same folks, which is fine. You know me. I always like to try to say hello to everybody who pops on in. Speaking of pre-orders, well, Mongoose Publishing is taking pre-orders for Fallout the role-playing game Royal Flush. Here's the scoop. War never changes. And neither does the Mojave. The Mojave isn't just a desert. It's a blasted frontier of dust, danger, and stubborn survivors clinging to the bones of the Old West. Out here, every crumbling highway hides secrets. Every settlement fights to keep raiders at bay. And every sunrise promises another struggle to survive until nightfall. Small settlements don't last long, but the fortified towns and cities have weathered the dust storms and wars in relative safety behind their walls. Though what festers inside their gates can be just as deadly. The Great War may be history, but the Mojave has never stopped being a battlefield. Royal Flush is a road trip down to the Sierras and the Mojave. Amid the turmoil engulfing the NCR in the run-up to the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. Against the looming threat of war, the player characters stumble into a plot to escalate regional tensions, become embroiled in conflicts between gangs and settlements, and have the chance to visit the famous New Reno and New Vegas. Within the 240-page full-color hardcover Royal Flush quest book, you'll find a main quest line and side quests to stop an accelerationist plot that seeks to plunge the wasteland into a brand new war, taking you from level 1 to 21. There's also a host of new NPCs and 3 new character origins: Enclave Remnant, Follower of the Apocalypse, and Viper Initiate. New rules for harsh desert environments, gambling, encounter generation, vehicles, and more. This book will require the core rules found in the Fallout the Role-Playing Game core rulebook. The 240-page hardcover with PDF is going to carry an MSRP of approximately $44.99. Right now, I think on Modiphius.us, I think it was 47 and change. You never know. You never know what the exchange rate is going to tell us. I don't think this will have an MSRP of $49.99. That's why I'm saying I think it's probably going to be $44.99. Now, of course, if you pre-order now, you will receive the PDF immediately. The PDF itself is not available separately just yet. When it does pop out, I will take a guess. We'll see that for around $22.99 over on DriveThruRPG. So they finally tackled New Vegas. Well, well, well. I should let my nephew Cameron check out the Fallout role-playing game. I gave him the starter set for Wasteland Warfare when that came out a few years back. He's a big Fallout fan, but I've never actually given him the role-playing game. Yeah, maybe I'll give him the starter set for Christmas for him to take a peek at. Kind of cool, though. I would definitely like to take a peek at this. Looks like it's chock full of goodness. Moving right along, there is a new money-saving offer from Schwalb Entertainment and Bundle of Holding, which has arrived. I've got the deets on the Weird Wizard deal. Adventurer. This all-new Shadow of the Weird Wizard bundle presents, well, you guessed it, Shadow of the Weird Wizard, the tabletop fantasy role-playing game from Robert J. Schwalb of Schwalb Entertainment, based on his best-selling Shadow of the Demon Lord. Funded in a huge August 2023 Kickstarter campaign, Shadow of the Weird Wizard swaps out Demon Lord's grimdark bleakness in favor of strange landscapes, bizarre monstrosities, and high adventure. Okay, bizarre monstrosities is no stretch from Demon Lord. The Weird Wizard once held sway over the old country, twisting the realm with eldritch magic. Now he has vanished, perhaps forever, and chaos reigns. Fleeing civil war, refugees seek new lives in the borderlands. But who will protect them from the Weird Wizard's freed creations? To rebuild the world, your heroes strive against despair, battle corruption, and ultimately resolve the wizard's mystifying legacy. Fans of Shadow of the Demon Lord and other D20-based role-playing games will find Weird Wizard easy to learn and fast playing with a wealth of tactical options. Choose from dozens of ancestries, 33 magical traditions, over 80 professions, and 162 expert and master paths to build the exact player character you see emerging through the story. With twists on old classics and completely new wonders, Shadow of the Weird Wizard conjures uncanny adventure in the tradition of Clark Ashton Smith, Jack Vance, and China Mieville. For just $9.95, you'll get both titles and the Weird Player Collection, which has a retail value of $43, as DRM-free PDFs, including the Shadow of the Weird Wizard's Player's Guide and the 33 sets of print and cut spell reference cards in the Wizard Spell Cards bundle. And if you pay more than the threshold price of $25.96, that may have changed by a few cents here or there since I put this news piece together, you'll level up and also get the entire Weird Sage collection with 9 more supplements and adventures worth an additional $62, including the Secrets of the Weird Wizard Game Mastering Guide, plus the Sage Screen, 3 Weird Wizard source books, Glory to the High One, Weird Ancestries, and With a Fairy Hand in Hand, and 4 adventures that deliver on the weird part of the title. An ambulatory head striding across the lands. Drink deep from the river of my hate. Not today, death. And with gnashed teeth and howling. May actually surprise you, this is the first time the Bundle of Holding has ever presented any product titled An Ambulatory Head. These savings are going to run through October 13th. This would be a perfect time for you to jump on in and check out Shadow of the Weird Wizard. Funny enough, I don't really hear much about this, although there is always content coming out. That's why I went and took a peek earlier today, because I had thought, this was kind of the hotness that people were pretty excited about for a while prior to it coming out. Then it came out, and then I really didn't hear anything about it again. But that's like a lot of games out there. I mean, right now, is anybody really talking much about Daggerheart anymore? And that, of course, has come out far more recently than Shadow of the Weird Wizard. Kind of weird, though. But as far as I can tell, there's a good amount of content coming out. So this is a role-playing game that is being supported actively by Schwalb Entertainment. It's just, I never hear anything about it. Kind of strange. Kind of strange. Kevin King said they should be playing some more Fallout next Wednesday night. It's been quite fun so far. Mark Hawkswell is with us, says sounds pretty crunchy. DB says Shadow of the Demon Lord is so good. Anyone try Weird Wizard? I have not. We did receive the PDF for the Shadow of the Weird Wizard from Robert J. Schwalb, and Sammy reviewed it. If I remember correctly, she gave it like a 7 or 7.5, somewhere around there. Got to keep in mind, Sammy and I have different taste in role-playing games and role-playing game adventures and things like that. Sammy is far more forgiving of games that are like adventures, especially that are far more modern in their approach, and a little less forgiving for stuff that's kind of old school. And I'm the opposite. So, which actually works really well, because there have been times where Sammy has done a written review of something, and then I will do a video review, and you kind of get both angles of those games. So I have not personally taken a look at Secrets of the Weird Wizard, or of course, the core game itself, Shadows of the Weird Wizard. I wonder, isn't Secrets of the Weird Wizard, that's the GM book, but I never hear it spoken of like you need to have both, right? I always hear Shadow of the Weird Wizard, but I haven't really heard that, oh yeah, well, you also have to have secrets. So DB says you should do a show together like Siskel and Ebert. Well, I don't think we disagree that much. So, every once in a while, I actually, between, you and I out there, I will actually bring her review scores down a little bit, because her review scores tend to be pretty high for some things that I'm kind of like, But I mean, I'll only like bring him down like half point. She's a little generous with the review score, at least in my opinion. All right, moving right along. Now available in print and PDF is Tales of the Valiant Book of Blades. And here's the lowdown from my friends over at Kobold Press. A fight club you'll talk about. A warrior can be so much more than a sword arm and a sack of hit points. Expand combat options for your game with Book of Blades. Join the field of battle over land and sea. This collection of player options for the Tales of the Valiant role-playing game adds a wealth of exciting new material for all martial classes, including 14 subclasses, plus new talents, new weapon options, and more. New combat options for every martial class: rogues, rangers, mechanists, monks, the works. Rules for intense single combat, duels, wrestling matches, and on mounts. In the Forge of Battle, new heroes are made. Let your martial classes shine. The 220-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $39.99. You can score the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. And going to be fully transparent here, the images I'm showing are actually from the Book of Blades for 5e. So there were a bunch of individual releases for 5e called Book of Blades, saying I couldn't find anything for this new book. So I'm going to take a guess. Probably going to have a similar look to this. Might even use the same artwork, same layouts, maybe some of the same verbiage. Although I think the trim will be in blue rather than red. But, you know, I wanted to give you a feel. I want to give you a feel for what the book's going to be like. Hey, if we're lucky, maybe my friends over at Kobold Press will send along a copy for me to share. Should also mention this weekend, you will see the review for Labyrinth Adventures from Kobold Press. I've got a couple of big reviews that you are going to get over the weekend, and that is one of them. All right, let's wrap up with our final news piece, because available in print and PDF for the Traveler role-playing game is Volume 15 of the Traveler's Aid Society. And I've got the latest from Mongoose Publishing. Welcome to the Journal of the Traveler's Aid Society, your indispensable guide to adventuring in the far future. Each volume is a treasure trove of information and game additions for Traveler, including adventures, new ships, alien creatures from across charted space, philosophical musings on the big empires, histories, different takes on familiar equipment, new vehicles, characters be met in starports, playable alien races, and much, much more. In Volume 15, you'll find the Crotan and the Sai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly as far as new alien races. You get some new creatures like the Rock Sticker, the Rock Ape, the Weed Harvester. You got new gear such as Eateries of Charted Space, riot weapons. Pretty cool. We have new ships, the Research Scout and the Nymph Provincial Merchant, new patrons, and traveling trade pioneers, and a whole lot more. These are actually absolutely jam-packed with gaming goodness for the Traveler role-playing game. This 124-page softcover with PDF, if you order from Mongoose Publishing, does carry an MSRP of $24.99. If you just want to grab the PDF over at DriveThruRPG, you can certainly do that as well for $14.99. Very nice. There are 5 new volumes because there was a Kickstarter. So there are 5 new volumes of the Journal of the Traveler's Aid Society. So we have, I do believe it was something like 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Somewhere around that. Pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. No Limelight Productions is with us in chat. All right. that is it for the news portion this evening. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG. Don't forget the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to stop on by, say, DriveThruRPG or any of the One Bookshelf sites like Dungeon Masters Guild, Storytellers Vault, Wargame Vault, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. And those percentages, those mini commissions that I get really do go a long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can support the outlet in a couple of other ways. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Oh, that's wonderful. Or you can become a monthly member of our Patreon. And on every live show, I like to give a shout out to our Patreon members. So at our $5 tier, we've got Gustavo Cavalho, Jason Lawman, Duval, Kevin R. Smith, Sean O'Donnell, and Talzek. Our $10 members, Dan Webb, Game Cat, Kevin King, Pete Strakulich, RPG Munch, Tessie Trekkie, and Tier 2 DM. And at the $25 level, we've got Agile Monk, Matt W., and the Madman. Thank you kindly, everybody. It is vastly appreciated. And of course, you can find links to DriveThruRPG as well as our PayPal and the Patreon all in the show notes. And also in those show notes, you will find an invite link to our Discord server. It is absolutely free for you to join and hang out. So come on by, hang with the gang over on Discord. And Toothless is joining us once again. Welcome. They said catching the stream live again. Very nice. Crazy that they're still awake, though. We do get a good number of people from other parts of the world watching live. It's kind of cool. I'm like, yeah, all right. We got some Aussies watching. I know we have had people from Brazil who would hang with us. Yeah. England, of course. Pretty nice. Pretty wild. Pretty cool. Okay. So tonight, we're going to be taking a first look at the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game core rulebook in a few moments. Did want to mention, I've got everything planned out for my visit to Gamehole Con, and it turns out I am 99% positive I am going to be flying solo. Elliot can't make it. Well, I figured he wasn't going to be able to anyway, because he would have to take the train from Chicago up to Madison, Wisconsin. And I already had figured he probably was not too keen to do that. Even though I told him I would drive him back home. And of course, my nephew Cameron, I haven't heard anything from. So I'm going to assume he's going to say, oh no, I can't get the time off. Not that he'll even try. But anyway, so I have canceled the Wednesday for the hotel I was going to stay at. Because I figured, well, because I like to get there, the day before the convention starts, kind of kick back, relax, kind of get my bearings, see where there's, a nice place to have an adult beverage or 3. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm just flying solo, I might as well just go up Thursday, first thing in the morning, hang out, then go check in and, stay Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Because I had booked for 4 nights. Because I had thought, in a perfect world, I could get Cameron to go for a couple of days. and then have Elliot come up for a couple of days, but that is not to be. So I will be all by my lonesome. I'll see who I can possibly latch onto. Hey, maybe if I run into Seth Skrzykowski, because that's where I saw him last year, was at Gamehole Con, and I got a chance to talk to him. I'm going to offer to buy him a couple of beers. Because he strikes me as the sort of person who would be fun to kick back and have a beer or two with. DB says, so audio interviews only. What I'm thinking of doing, because you have to remember last year when I went up there, I did not know what the layout was going to be. So I wasn't sure, how close I'd be able to park. And I did not want to lug around a tripod because I have a really nice tripod. It's not super heavy, but it's not really light. It's titanium. And like I said, it's a really nice tripod, but that's what that camera, that Panasonic sits on. And I remember one Gen Con, I brought it and had to lug it around, and it was just a massive pain in the ass. So what I'm thinking is, because I have been there already, so I know what the layout is of No Limelight Production asks, what's it called? It is Gamehole Con in Madison, Wisconsin, which is about a 2-hour drive from me, maybe a little more. But the parking is right there. And I had also noticed the one day I came in, all the parking in front was like all taken. So I swung around the back, which was pretty empty. So yes, I am going to bring my camera. I am going to bring the tripod with, because I figure what I'll do, this is the game plan. So on Thursday, I'll chat with people I know and meet people I don't, because that's what I do at conventions. I really am hoping that Magnetic Press Play is there. They're the folks who do the Planet of the Apes role-playing game. But what I'll do is on Thursday, I'll go around and I'll set stuff up for Friday, and then I'll shoot interviews on Friday. So that's what we shall try to do. No Limelight Productions asks, what are my favorite conventions to go to? My absolute favorite is Gen Con. I always have a great time at Gen Con. And, I know a lot of folks in the industry. So I get to go and meet with some of my favorite people in the industry and chat with them and hang with them. And everybody just seems to be having a blast. I do enjoy San Diego Comic-Con, but it's pretty crazy. It is so packed with people. So I laugh when we would go to San Diego Comic-Con, and then the next week is usually Gen Con. Wouldn't even have a week to recharge our batteries. It'd be like Monday and Tuesday, and then Wednesday it'd be like, okay, well, leaving again. It was like, whoa. Because San Diego Comic-Con, we would get back from that and just be absolutely exhausted. Well, okay. Not like incredibly exhausted, but it's very, tiring. Because on an average day at San Diego Comic-Con, we would walk about 17 miles. I think the record for the amount of distance that we walked in a day was 22 miles, because Elliot tracks his steps and all that. So, but I always like that. Although it costs an arm and a leg. I used to go to Origins. We had fun at Origins. Then there were some things that went on behind the scenes that is not public knowledge. That I was kind of like, you know what? I'm not digging Gamma. So I'm not going to cover that anymore, which is too bad, because I do have some pals in the industry who don't go to Gen Con. Origins is the convention that they go to. So like Mark H. Walker from Tiny Battle Publishing and Flying Pig Games. My buddy Herman Lettman, the designer of many games, including Dawn of the Zeds, that is a convention he goes to. So I miss out getting to see them. But yeah, you also got to keep in mind, I do not have funds to hit many conventions. So the game sales help as far as defray the costs, I guess we will say. And then, of course, I always bring stuff to the auction at Gen Con. Kevin King says they used to go to 3-4 cons per year. Then Parenthood. Spelling Mistakes with us says, oh, parking's easy and the dealer's hall would be much easier to film in compared to Gen Con. I don't know about that. I don't know if I will get. Okay, so here's something you have to keep in mind. Most conventions, and this was true for Gen Con, Origins, C2E2, which I see Spelling Mistake said, got to hit up C2E2 in Chicago. I have. Not much of a con. It's one of those, what I like to refer to as a dirt con. It's a convention, if you walked in and the floor was just dirt, you'd be like, I'm not surprised. If you're like a panels person, then some of the local shows, like they used to have Wizard World here, now it's something else. It's called something else because Wizard World went under. Wizard went under. But now I forget. It's same exact show, just with a different name. And C2E2 is another one. And I got to be honest, the cost to go to those conventions is insane. Just the price of a pass, even like a day pass. I'm like, really? Thing runs from like 10 until 6. And then that's it. Like you go to Gen Con, it's 24 hours. It's 24 hours at Gen Con. And it's not only in the convention center, it's in all the hotels that are around it too. So, but to me, Gen Con gives you a pretty good value for your pass. No Limelight Production says, oh, nice. I'm going to tell my buddy about that. He lives in Kenosha. I think that's how it's spelled. Yes, you got it. Kenosha is correct as far as I recall. Kenosha, Wisconsin isn't that far from Madison. I don't remember exactly, but it's pretty close. Easily within a 2-hour drive. Tony Cornelson is with us. No Limelight Productions asked, do I go to Gary Con? I went to Gary Con once. That's why you'll see me from time to time with my Gary Con hat. And I went to the Founders and Legends once. My mother hung me on a hook once. Funny enough, I never actually saw that movie, Johnny Dangerously. I've seen little bits and pieces. That was like one of Elliot's and like go-to lines. My mother hung me on a hook once. Anywho, Spelling Mistake says Gen Con ruins other cons for you. Yeah, for a lot of people it does. It really does. So like I would go to Origins, and for one, Origins always misrepresents how many people were there, and I mean by a lot. I know all these conventions, they like to massage their numbers a little bit. But Origins really massages their numbers. And they would have like 14,000, 15,000 people. And people would be like, oh, wow, this is really crowded. And I'd think 120,000 at Comic-Con. This is nothing. It's like, look, I can move my arms. Anyway, like Gary Con, I'm sure I'm sure we could get passes to go to GaryCon. Only thing is, and I liked GaryCon. I didn't mind going up to Lake Geneva. Elliot and I went. Elliot and I went to the Founders and Legends, which that was arranged by our friends at Troll Lord Games. They were able to arrange passes for us. The thing is, with GaryCon, they don't do like a press pass. So essentially, they'll give you a press pass. They'll give you a pass, but you can't take part in anything that's going on. So you can't go play games. You can't sign up for games if you have one of those badges. And it's sort of like, and I mentioned this to their PR person or press person, whatever they were. I said, you do realize the convention is held in a resort, which is open to the public. And there are many people who are staying at the resort who have nothing to do with GaryCon. So if we wanted to just show up, we certainly could without having to go through getting a pass. So they were like, well, we'll give you a pass. And then if you want to play games, we could maybe give you a discounted pass. And it was like, because their pass for the con is like $120, might even be more now. And it's sort of like, I can't justify that simply because, Gen Con is cheaper. It's like than GaryCon. Although it's a good convention, especially if you like old school role-playing games, you will definitely dig GaryCon. And, you got some of the old timers floating around as well. I do see that Steven from Roll for Combat is with us, says they love Johnny Dangerously. Sweet. So No Limelight Production says they'd love to go 1 year. I'm guessing GaryCon. Like I said, it was kind of cool. It was funny because I think they had like 1,500 people. And people were talking about how there were just too many people. And now, granted, it is in the old Playboy Club in Lake Geneva, which is now, of course, something else. So it's not as if it's a massive, we're not talking like a Vegas resort. So there's maybe 400 rooms, something like that. Spelling Mistake says they always have to decide between GaryCon and Adepticon, and Adepticon usually wins. You know what? This year, I think I'm going to go to Adepticon because I have reached out to them before and they said, yeah, sure. You can feel free, come cover it. Another situation where it's like, well, you can't play in stuff without having a badge. And I didn't push back on that at all. This is a few years ago. But I'm sure if I reach out to them, they'll say, hell yeah, man, just come on in. I'm trying to remember if it was that I couldn't play in games or I couldn't play in tournaments. I think it was the tournaments you had to have the badge for. But yes, I'll reach out because I would love to go to Adepticon. To be honest, I'd love to bring you folks more miniatures news and looks at miniatures and stuff like that. I'm a big minis fan. We'll find out. Toothless says, I feel like Roll for Combat and Agile Monk are in every YouTube channel that they also watch. Did Agile Monk pop on in? Because I was going to say, I don't think I saw them. Spelling Mistake says, yes, Adepticon's free to just wander around. You only need a badge for events. So yes, I'm sure I would have to look to see who's there. Would be what I'm looking at. As far as GaryCon goes, the exhibitors, pretty light as far as the exhibitors go. I know Goodman Games is usually up there. I know Luke Gygax, his company is usually up there. But, you're not going to run across like Paizo. You're not going to find Chaosium. Although, you know what? I think Chaosium did go to GaryCon last year. I might be wrong. Anyway, so we'll see. we'll see what happens. But yes, I enjoy going to conventions, and my favorite is Gen Con. And yes, I shall be floating around, flying solo at Gamehole Con, which is okay. Like I said, I'll run across. I never have any problem finding people to talk to. Never. I talk to, exhibitors and publishers and stuff that I know. I have people come up and start talking to me. So yes, there's not going to be any problem. Kevin R. Smith says they don't know about Roll for Combat, but Agile Monk should be called Savoir Faire because Savoir Faire is everywhere. Yes, Agile Monk is one of our Patreon members. Yes, that is true. All right, so we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game core rulebook in just a few moments. But first, I got to say, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Want a cup of Wilkins coffee?
What'll Mr. Wilkins do if I don't?
Oh, he'll probably put his foot down.
We love them hot, hot shots, those brand new hot shots. It's a firecracker treat that's fun to eat. You'll get a bang and a hot shot. They got a lot of hot, pow, for just a nickel. Look at all you've got. It's a firecracker treat that's fun to eat. You'll get a bang and a hot shot.
They're new, hot red hot shots. Good and hot tongue teasing candy that's sure to give your taste a bang.
It's a firecracker treat that's fun to eat.
Just pull the fuse, pop them in your mouth, and take off for fun. What candy?
We love them hot, hot shots. You be shot hot, hot shots. It's a firecracker treat that's fun to eat. Pow!
How would you like to help me deal the next generation of superweapons to the world?
The weapons of tomorrow.
I've already made quite a few of these dandy little toys. Do you really want to be the only ones without my kind of firepower?
Terrorizing our cities today.
Officers down. We got a big problem here.
Now, to protect those
Hey, Grandma.
who can't fight back,
Gang still messing with him?
Worse than ever.
one man must stand up for the people.
Maybe the police aren't enough. Maybe we need a new kind of firepower for ourselves.
Got you, bro.
What exactly am I supposed to be doing here?
We make our own counter weapons to take out the ones in the streets.
To stop an enemy without hurting them.
And become a new breed of hero.
It might get a little dangerous.
I laugh at danger.
I boogie around danger like a soul-trained dancer.
With a will of iron, a heart of gold, and a body of steel.
It's hammer time.
What a magnetic personality.
Well, you gotta admit, the guy's got style.
Shaquille O'Neal.
Where'd he go?
The Batcave?
Steel.
Man, I could be Robin.
You wanna know what you can do to help?
What? Anything.
Don't tell Grandma.
When they do polls of the worst superhero movies of all time, Steel almost always comes in number one. I've never seen it. I'll be first to mention I have never seen it. I'm not picking on Shaquille O'Neal because I hear he's supposed to be a fantastic human being. But the thing is, I mean, that is an official Warner Brothers DC movie. This isn't just some, just something that they made straight to video or anything like that. That's why there's a reference to Batman and the Batcave, or no, there's the Batcave and Robin. Yeah. If I remember correctly, I think the character of Steel was, I think they were created in the wake of the Death of Superman storyline that took place. So he was one of the characters who was trying to take up Superman's mantle. And I think he was created for that. Kevin R. Smith says Shaq was a great basketball player, never a good actor. No, I think he kind of phones it in, but still. But hey, we got a superhero theme going tonight, although that was DC. Now we're going to talk about Marvel because it's time for us to dive on into the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game core rulebook from Marvel. This is written by Matt Forbeck. The 320-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $59.99. I do want to mention you can find this at far lower prices than the $59.99. In fact, Amazon, I remember correctly, I think Amazon's got it like $29.99, something like that. Now, the big deal is, yes, the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game is now available in PDF. It is over at DriveThruRPG. If you want to score this core rulebook, it is $19.99. Having said all that, let's swing on over to the other camera because here I've got the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. Sweet. As I had mentioned previously, this is not a review copy. This was actually something that a fan of the show, someone who enjoys the gaming gang, when we were talking about the PDFs for the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game last week, and I mentioned, hey, you know what? I would actually love to see the core rulebook, but I mean, obviously, we're not going to have Marvel sending me a review copy. And they had reached out over on Discord and asked, hey, are you interested in checking it out? I'll send you the funds. You can order it over on Amazon. I was like, yeah, okay, sweet. So that is how we got this. And I do believe that individual would prefer not to be named. At least they didn't want that last time they did something like this. Anyway, so a big thank you to the individual who made it possible for us to take a peek at this. They knew who they are. DB says they're a phase rip man because they're old. Yep. A lot of people love Phase Rip. You know what? Let's look at the back. Let's take a peek at the back. Now, keep in mind, you're not going to look at each and every page of this book, but I will give you a good feel of what's inside. So it looks as if we are getting the Spider-Verse on the back here, because that's Spider-Gwen, Spider-Ham. I do not get this. It's like I don't get Jeff the Shark. I don't know what the deal is with that. I think that's Spider-Noir. And isn't that Spider-Man 2099? I think so. I really haven't followed the Marvel universe outside of, what like books are coming out, because we post that news on the website every Sunday. It has probably been 10, 12 years since I really followed what was going on in the Marvel universe. So here we've got our credits page. So let's give credit where credit is due. A lot of folks were involved in getting this out. Kevin R. Smith says there's a retro clone of the old Marvel Supers game literally called Phase Rip because TSR never trademarked that term. Spelling Mistake says they like this one. The number of powers is overwhelming, but it plays well. I remember sharing my review of the playtest, and it was a hot mess. It really was. So I'm hoping that they have cleaned things up. I figure they have. So we get how to play. What is a role-playing game? What do you need? This utilizes 3 6-sided dice, 2 of them of one color and 1 of a second color. It's right here. You need 3d6 to play, ideally with one different from the other 2, so you can pick it out easily. It is the 616 system. 616 being the core Marvel universe. All right, so we got our core mechanics and Rocket Raccoon. The Marvel Multiverse role-playing game may come in this big book stuffed full of all sorts of amazing material. The size of it can be a little overwhelming. Actually playing the game, however, only requires understanding a few basic rules, which we cover in this short chapter. Once you get those down, you're ready to get started. I think the main page count is devoted to villains and heroes and stat blocks and stuff like that. The action check. While playing the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game, the players have their characters try to do all sorts of things. Some are amazing, while others are more mundane. Many of these mundane things are sure to succeed as far as the game is concerned. They just happen automatically. For instance, if Spider-Man's player wants Peter Parker to walk to a bodega to pick up some groceries, and he just does it, the narrator doesn't bother rolling any dice or checking any details on a character sheet. They simply describe what Parker sees, hears, smells, feels, and so on. No, you never describe what they feel. So no is the game master, unless you're talking about like heat and cold. Most of the time, there's no real challenge to this, so there's no need to consult the rules. And what happens if Spider-Man spots the Vulture flying away from the bank with the alarm going off and tries to punch the supervillain? Does he hit the Vulture? Anytime the circumstances make it challenging for a character to complete an action, the narrator calls for an action check to figure out what happens. This helps keep things fair because no one gets to decide exactly what happens. Instead, the dice let you know, and you continue on from there. To resolve an action check, you need 3 6-sided dice, 2 regular, and a special one called a Marvel die, sometimes referred to as D-Marvel. Together, we call these 3 dice D616. So you roll 616, apply the relevant ability score, and compare the total to the target number. Okay. If you don't have an official Marvel die, you can substitute an ordinary D6 different from the other 2 dice. So it's a red die, as an example. So it says getting a 1 on that red die means you got a Marvel logo result. So you total it up. Now, let's see. What do we get for the Marvel die? Note, when we list the results for a D616 roll, we always list the Marvel die as the middle die. Think of it as the number 1 in the 616. There is one special exception when you add up the dice. If your Marvel die comes up with a Marvel logo, that's a fantastic result. Fantastic. It's kind of funny. It's like they just pulled that word out. Should we use? Do you want to use marvelous? No. We already got enough Marvel in this. All right, let's use fantastic. So you count the die as a 6 instead of that 1, and you add up the numbers as usual. So as an example, that'd be 15. And you apply the ability score. So they have a range of -3 to +9. And then you will have a target number. Here are our target numbers. Oh, those are modifiers to the target number. Do we have? Oh, okay. Let's say we have a set target number. So we have ranks 1 through 6. And the target numbers run from 11 to 16. So essentially 10 plus the challenge rank. And then we also have modifiers to add to that. So we've got trivial at -6. Absurd is +6. Example, Captain America, who's rank 4, is soaring through a combat zone on a hang glider, and he needs to zip through a narrow gap between 2 skyscrapers. The narrator thinks about it for a moment and decides this is a ridiculous task for a rank 4 character. A challenging rank 4 task has a target number of 14. So if the task is ridiculous, the target number is 14 plus 4, so now it's 18. So, okay, just between us. So if Captain America was flying a hang glider between 2 skyscrapers, I think there's enough room, right? I think the skyscrapers are right next to each other. Anywho, so there you go. So it'd be an 18. And then, of course, there's impossible things. Fantastic rolls. If you get a fantastic roll and your total meets or beats the action check's target number, that's a fantastic success. That's considered a yes and result. The action succeeds and an extra special something happens. All right. So then we got edges. If your character makes an action check under extra favorable circumstances, uses special skills, employs top-notch tools, or otherwise has some kind of advantage, the narrator can grant your character an edge on that action check. You have to reroll a single die from your D16 and take the better of the 2. Trouble is the opposite of that. So if you have trouble, you take your highest die and re-roll it. And I think you have to take the lowest of the 2. So if you get a Marvel result, that's automatically considered to be your best die. So we have stacking trouble. So you can actually cause double trouble, triple trouble, and so on. And the narrator decides if they stack up. So math involved, but not a terrible amount. DB's rocking on out. Good to see you again. Hope you enjoy the rest of the show on Memorex. So there is some discussion of the old Marvel Supers game going on in chat. So we got character profiles. So we have got our ranks 1 through 6. Yep, 1 through 6. I remember that. Rank 1 is a rookie. Rank 6 is cosmic. Got our ability scores in melee, agility, resilience, vigilance, ego, and logic. Health is measured by your resilience multiplied by 30. The minimum is 10 health, even if the character's resilience is less than 1. So Aunt May's a 10, I guess. So we've got karma, damage, size, backstory. So you've got your origin, several kinds of origins, including alien, high-tech, magic, mutant, special training, weird science. Weird science. It's out of love. Occupation, criminal, healthcare worker, journalist, outsider, spy, traits and tags. These are pretty interesting. So we have different traits and we have different tags. So as an example, using Spider-Man here, he has traits like audience, combat reflexes. He has connections. He has sources, free running, inventor, pundit, scientific expertise, and weird. He also has the following tags: heroic, obligation, Aunt May, poor, and secret identity. And then here we have the Spider-Man stat block. One thing I thought was pretty cool, and I think it's carried over to the core rulebook, is with the playtest, you saw that they would have like early Spider-Man, Spider-Man with the symbiote costume and that. I thought that was really cool. I saw, I just shared news about the Spider-Verse supplement or I call it expansion for the Multiverse role-playing game. And they had early Green Goblin, and they were utilizing Steve Ditko art. I thought that was pretty cool. So as you can see, we've got our ability scores, and then we have defense scores, which, if I remember right, they're your saving throws. So you use your ability scores when you try to do something, and then when you respond to something. If I remember correctly from the play test, that's when you roll the defense score. All right, so ways to play. So here's our combat. This has a little bit of crunch to it. So our standard actions: attack, dodge, escape, grab, help, move, use a power. You have reactions such as escape, fastball, special, help teammates, interpose, ram, release, skulk. You can skulk if the character is the target of an attack and someone within their reach is not a target of that attack. The character moves for free behind the nearby person, and that person becomes a new target of the attack. The attacker's TN for the attack is the lower the character's defense or the new target's defense. Movement actions. Condition summaries: ablaze, bleeding, blinded, deafened, demoralized, grabbed, paralyzed, pinned, prone, shattered, stunned, surprised, and unconscious. And we have team maneuvers if you're playing as a team. We get our character creation rules. So selecting your ability scores. So the standard human level range from -3 to +3. So you're going to get points to spend. And it's going to obviously be determined by what level character you're creating, like a rookie, something like that. Here we got backstories. We're going to get into our traits and tags. So we've got our origins, Atlantean, Pym particles, could be Kree, you could be an Inhuman. That's cool. I have to say, as far as sandboxes to play around with, you could do a whole hell of a lot worse than the Marvel Universe. And especially if you're someone like my age, or, yeah, around my age, maybe you're looking at running this for your kids, maybe your kids and their friends. You can just go back to some of the old Marvel storylines that they would have no idea of and just bust those out. I got to say, I recently saw Fantastic Four. I enjoyed it. I liked it. It was one of my favorite Marvel movies of the recent Marvel movies. And I like what they did with Ben Grimm. I like that because the movie is supposed to be taking place 3 years after they've been exposed to gamma rays and become the Fantastic Four. And of course, most Fantastic Four movies, they always have Ben Grimm all, I'm turned into this monster. And I get it. I mean, because that was in the comics too. And of course, one of the big things he's always trying to do is be able to change back to being human, which happens from time to time in the Fantastic Four comics. But they didn't linger on that. I liked it a lot. I thought they did a really good job of capturing each of the characters and the family dynamic that the Fantastic Four has. I love that. All right, so here are some of the powers. Shield bearer, spider powers, super speed, weather control. So we go through these various different blocks. So we have like martial arts, and then we will have the different traits. Pretty sure these are traits. So like magic, no set, chaos set, demonic set, sorcery set, and icy tendrils of Icthalon, sorceress rank 2. Each power description features a number of elements. They include power set, prerequisites, action, trigger, duration, range, cost, because characters pay focus to activate their special abilities, and effect. What does the power do? Clobber. Character pummels their foe with enough force to knock them flat. The power set is super strength. There are no prerequisites. It's a standard action. Duration is instant. And the effect, the character makes a close attack against an enemy. If the attack is a success, the enemy takes regular damage. On a fantastic success, the enemy takes double damage and is knocked prone. So you got other things like copy power, copy traits, copy ability, crushing grip, dazzle, such as the Dazzler. Do this all day. The character draws on their inner strength to heal themselves. It is a martial arts and shield bearer power set. Prerequisites, it's rank 2. Action standard, duration instant, cost is 5 or more focus. And the effect, the character heals 2 points of health for every point of focus they spend. So we can see lots of powers here. I think that's the trickiest thing in superhero role-playing games. How to balance the powers where your players feel like they're taking on characters who are superheroes without making them gods. I think that can be pretty tricky. We also have some more powers here. Supernova, telekinetic crush, teleport object, teleport other, teleport together. So quite a lot there. And now we're going to get into our characters, which you can play as any of these. So if you wanted to play as Agatha Harkness, who back in the day was a little old lady. That's who Agatha Harkness was. In fact, if I'm talking about the Fantastic Four, I think that's where she first appeared. Because now, see, I'm trying to go back through my Marvel data banks. I remember right. I think she's Franklin Richards' babysitter. So we've got Ant-Man, Hank McCoy as the Beast, Baron Zemo. So we do have heroes. We do have villains. We got Blade. There we go. Captain America, Steve Rogers. Captain America's always been my favorite comic book character. So we will get the abilities. We get his damage. We have traits and tags, his biography, and his powers. So as far as his powers go, his basic are iconic weapon, which is his shield, inspiration, and then mighty one. Then his shield bearer skills, or powers, I should say, brace for impact, do this all day, hurled shield bash, hurled shield block, hurled shield deflection, immovable, Rico shield, shield 3, shield bash, shield deflection, shield wall. Then tactics, change of plans, and combat supports. And a Captain America villain, Crossbones. Devil Dinosaur. We got Deadpool. There you go. Good old Wade Wilson. Drax. Emma Frost, as well as the Enchantress. Ghost Spider. Oh, that's who it was on the back cover. Ghost Spider. I thought it was Spider-Gwen. So much for that. Oh, yeah, actually, it's right, because it's Gwen Stacy. Oh, I guess they call her Ghost Spider now, huh? That I did not know. Good old Hawkeye. But just flipping on through, look at how many characters we've got. Magneto. Gotta say, Magneto's one of the absolute best comic book villains. I like Dr. Doom, too. And the Red Skull. I will say, I grew up as a Marvel fan. Didn't really read DC. I did read more DC when I got back into comics for a while. Age of Adventure is with us, says, ooh, is this a new version? I played this at a con in April last year. This is the core rulebook for Marvel Multiverse. Let's try that again. Core rulebook for the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. That's what we're taking a peek at tonight. And of course, I will have a review in a not too distant future. There you go. There's the Red Skull. The Scarlet Witch. I say the artwork throughout is, especially the character art here, really nice. There's Spider-Man again. Both Miles Morales, the ultimate Spider-Man, and Peter Parker. There you go. There's Spider-Man 2099, who was also on the back. Squirrel Girl. So there is a Spider-Verse expansion. There's an Avengers expansion. There's an X-Men expansion. And then, of course, there are some adventures that have come out. We got Venom, Vision, Wasp, Wolverine. Nice. And what do we get? A history of comics? Yeah, there we go. The Marvel Multiverse. If you're curious about the production quality, very cool. That is got to be Alex Ross right there. Always like Alex Ross's artwork. The paper stock is decent. It's not super thick. This does have a stitched binding, so we do have that. Paper does kind of almost have a weird sort of dusty feel to it. I don't know if that's because this came from Amazon. And I will say I was kind of surprised and very pleasantly surprised that this wasn't all beat to shit. Like most books you get from Amazon. There was a little ding on one of the corners of one of the, I think it's the back cover. So here's our Game Masters section. Not a whole hell of a lot, because we're almost to the end. So, of course, the GM is the narrator. Setting up your game, running the game, taking breaks, the scope. So is it a single issue? Is it a graphic novel? Is it an ongoing series? That's kind of cool. Hey, Mysterio. Got mind control. Universal travel. Working with ranks. Changing heroes. Says just because a character hit their rank cap doesn't mean they're not capable of change. It just means they're not likely to get much more powerful. There are still all sorts of ways that their adventures can affect them and the people around them. So it says the most obvious way for a character to change without gaining rank is through their labels, their traits, and their tags. Changing occupations. He talks about remaking characters. Hopefully the stat blocks are correct. The thing that was insane about the playtest was that I'm trying to remember which superhero it was. It was the wrong stat block for that superhero. It was like, really? How did this slip by? So we got our power trees. So we have the elemental control, illusion, magic, martial arts, melee weapons, omniversal travel, and there is dimensional, multiversal, and time, phasing, plasticity, power control, ranged weapons, resize, shield bearer, spider powers, super speed, super strength, tactics, telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation, and weather control. Here's our character sheets. So we've got 2 pages here. That's what it looks like. Or is this for NPCs? But here's our abilities and damage, which that doesn't have on here. I guess it's 2 pages. Okay, cool. And we get a glossary and index. There's good old Dr. Doom. And that is a peek inside the core rulebook for the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game from Marvel. And yes, I will have a review of this in the not too distant future. Once again, big thank you to our friend of the show who wants to remain anonymous for providing me with funds to pick this up. Very nice. Thank you kindly. So, little discussion of the game. Says Kevin King says this one uses 3 6-siders, one of which is the Marvel die for critical successes. You notice there was no critical failure. There were fantastic successes. There were no fantastic failures. But Tessie Treggy says it's a meaty read. Cool. I like that. I appreciate that. All right. That is it for tonight's show. Tomorrow, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Neon Rain for the Cypher system from Monty Cook Games. This is a cyberpunk genre book. It took me a second to remember what they title these. These are genre books. I also have a little zine for this that we will also take a peek at as a bonus. And then next week, we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at World of Battlezoo Indigo Isles. This is for 5e. This is available for 5e and Pathfinder. But we are going to take a look at the 5e edition of this. You might recall I reviewed the adventure Jewel of the Indigo Isles a while back. So Stephen from Roll for Combat gave me a copy of this. This is the setting book. So we're going to take a peek at that. We also have the Inquisition GM's Guide for Warhammer 40K roleplay Imperium Maledictum. We'll take a look at this next week. And we will also take a look at the Traveler High Guard Update 2022. Yep, 2022 from Mongoose Publishing. So plenty for us to be taking a peek at. All right. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, big tip of the cap to you, because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I page through a role-playing game book or unbox a board game. But of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,300 videos here on the channel. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you like the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ring that bell, because it'll not only supposed to inform you when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. Also let you know when I share other videos, such as my recent review of the West Marches Campaign Playstyle Guidebook from Carl Otto Christofferson, and what just came out, I think it was today, my review of Call of Cthulhu, Sutra of Pale Leaves, Carcosa Manifest from Chaosium Inc. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Thank you kindly for watching. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.